Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm James.
I'm Callum.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're joined again by Callum, who was on our first episode.
Thank you for having me. I am on time this time.
This is a historic, because when we had the old show, you were never on time. Out of like 118 episodes.
No, we were on time once, but you weren't here.
Yeah, that was when you took over the show.
Yeah, but that's a technicality.
Yeah, but so... And now we started the new show, so you're making me look bad because I told everyone you're always late. But yeah, we're glad to have you. Tonight we're going to be reviewing Glass, the new M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong film. Does Bruce Willis care?
We'll find out.
Find out. But first, I want to give my very, very quick thoughts on the second season of The Punisher, which I just binged all of. I'm going to do a non-spoiler thoughts, but I'm going to make some broad statements that if you've seen the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the show, it probably won't ruin it for you. But basically, I enjoyed the season overall.
Was it better than the first?
No, definitely not. But I think it mishandled a few things, primarily Billy, who at the end of season 1 sort of was... sort of being touted as becoming Jigsaw. He's not Jigsaw. I think they mishandled. He's got a couple of scratches on his face. He's basically just Billy 2.0. And there's this whole thing where he lost his memory. It doesn't work. And there's this whole thing with he's got a relationship with his therapist. It's all silly. I think a problem with the season, and this is a problem with most of the Marvel seasons, so not just The Punisher.
Is it too long?
Too long. Needs 8-10 episodes. That's it.
If you look at how DC's sort of handling things, Titans, as I guess we can compare them, they're sort of adult-aimed, I'll say contemporary superhero shows.
Maybe. I don't know if I'd compare them, but yeah.
Well, no, from my point is, Titans is 11 episodes long, and it's perfect in length.
Okay.
They're 45-minute episodes, 11 episodes long, and it's perfect.
I think 10 is generally a good number for any premium cable or streaming drama, you know. There's no reason they need to be 13 anymore. Especially when you dump them all on one day and they're streaming, you don't have to allow for programming schedules or release schedules.
That 13 style was pretty much for that quarterly.
Yeah, it's for TV. Yeah. That's not necessarily just a problem with The Punisher season 2. It's a problem with a lot of these shows. I think it does lack some focus on, because there's Billy and then there's the Punisher and then there's a new villain, and they don't give him a lot of time, and some characters are introduced and then just spend 5 episodes just sitting in a room. They really need to tighten it, cut the episodes, focus more on certain characters. But overall, I enjoyed it. The action's still really good, the violence, and all the performances are fantastic. Most likely, it's going to be cancelled, as with all the other Marvel Netflix shows. But if they cancel everything and just keep The Punisher, I think that would be their best bet. Netflix should definitely just keep The Punisher going. And I think where this season ends, if hopefully there is a season 3, it definitely would be a lot better. They could finally get over a lot of the origin stuff and finally do Punisher justice properly. I think
people... I'm certainly more hesitant to go into season 2, knowing that it in all likelihood will get cancelled.
That's the thing is sometimes I'll tell people, you should watch this show. There was only 2 seasons before it got cancelled, but it's one of the best shows I've ever seen. And they're like, no, not interested. I'm like, why? I'm like, well, there's only 2, so I know that this, that, and the other. And I'm like, but you're depriving yourself of watching a great show and a great story.
Oh, look, if it's a great show, yeah.
Yeah, but I think if you've invested in the Marvel shows to this point, like I have...
Oh, I'm half in, half out.
You're going to... Yeah, so if you're going to give up now, you should give up now. But I'd recommend... I mean, you might as well finish it out. But I mean, that's what I'm planning to do anyway. But yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home teaser trailer came out.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm down. I loved Homecoming.
Although the one thing I have an issue with this trailer is I don't like the fact that it's supposed to be set after Endgame.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're seeing all these people, and it's like, okay,
Yeah,
they
but
survived the snap.
that's
They
the-
survived the snap.
That's the problem with this kind of universe is like we pretty much know everyone who got dusted is coming back.
Yeah, but they could have just not, like, they
Yeah.
could have timed it a little better. Like, we didn't need to know that Spider-Man comes back. Like, it's very spoilery.
But
The
like
real question is-
they announced they were making the sequel to Homecoming before Homecoming even came out.
Yeah, but it could have been set before the snap. It could have been a self-contained story.
True.
The real question is Jake Gyllenhaal going to be like an offensive Italian guy? Like putting on a fake accent and stuff?
No, I think
What?
Mysterio.
it's because it's
What?
it's set in Paris, isn't it?
Is it Paris?
Mysterio is not
I thought it was in
Italian.
Italy.
Where's it set?
I thought they go to one
It's
of
a
the-
European trip.
They go to London, Venice, and I'm gonna assume Paris, but I don't think I saw
I was
that
assuming
in the trailer.
since he rocks up in once again the
No,
European country.
Mysterio is an American.
Yeah, he's
character.
American.
So what's he doing there?
I don't know.
It's like in Spider-Man.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, the villains need passports all of a sudden.
Yes.
Oh, my bad.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
thought- I thought-
Mysterio didn't make a
No,
passport.
I thought
control.
Mysterio was going to originate in one of those countries, and so he's going to be like, my pizza. What? I had some hopes,
I'd
alright?
like you, Spider-Man.
in a world,
money.
I just want diversity in my superheroes. Am I wrong?
Signore Mysterio.
in a world with
You
bad
make
guys
good
with,
magic.
with superpowers and teleporting devices, you still need the passport.
You
Yeah.
do.
The thing, like, I don't like the name Far From Home. I don't like the title. I think it's dumb. But
It's fine.
I'm looking forward to the movie. Obviously, I liked Homecoming. I didn't like in the trailer. I mean, it's a problem with all trailers. They give too much away. They show, and also like I'm assuming all the Mysterio illusions of the big water beast and the big rock beast. Like, it looked kind of boring. Like, everything was the same. So I'm hoping there's some more variety to Mysterio's trickery. Also, I didn't like how the first time we see Mysterio, it's just Jake Gyllenhaal, like in a suit. Like, I want the fishbowl,
Yeah,
and then reveal that it's Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, I know
That
he's
would have
a-
been cool.
I know he's a big star, and
Like
you want to
the-
show his face.
like the swirling mists in the
Yeah,
fishbowl.
but it's like the first time we see Mysterio, it's like a medium shot of Jake Gyllenhaal, and then you see it in the distance, he's got the fishbowl on in the next scene, and I'm just kind of like, it's for this trailer, you need this really cool Mysterio reveal, or you know what? Because they give too much away, maybe don't show anything.
Semi-segue. Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix looks
Hype.
interesting. Hype.
Hype.
That's and we're talking about a trailer specifically for this movie. I haven't watched the trailer because I want to go in blank.
Don't watch the
But
trailer. It gives too much
allegedly
away.
it's like completely spoilers.
Yeah, it spoils the movie, but I'm so hyped for that movie.
I can't
Nightcrawler.
wait. I can't wait for it.
Nightcrawler was my favorite movie.
It
of
comes out on the 1st of
2014.
February, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm really hyped for that movie. We're talking about we're talking about what you were saying before. The trailers just show too much, and
Yeah.
apparently this movie is almost completely spoiled by
Yeah.
the trailer.
Yeah, I wish I didn't watch the trailer. I mean, I stopped watching after it started spoiling things, but
I haven't. I'm going.
yeah,
blank
no,
so
going blank. I'm really hyped for that. Nightcrawler, who everyone involved with that is in this one, was my favorite movie of 2014. So I'm really looking forward to Velvet Buzzsaw. John Wick 3 trailer hype.
Amazing.
I mean, I love John Wick 2. I think it's way better than the first one. I was a little worried John Wick 3 would sort of start to feel repetitive. But seeing that trailer, man, I was like, nah, I'm not worried anymore.
It looks intense.
Yeah. And also the Ghostbusters 3 news that apparently they're making they're pretty much Ghostbusters 3. Like, they're making a sequel to Ghostbusters 2 that ignores the 2016
Which is exciting, but also, what do you make of the news that it could, like, on the other direction almost
Oh,
of our hopes and dreams here, that the main characters could be like
Teens,
teenagers?
yeah.
Like, no, I want Bill Murray. I want
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is that because Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and the others are getting old now, and Harold Ramis unfortunately passed away, that it'll be a handoff movie. Like, he's the young generation.
But they could be adults, man, running a business, so they have to be teenagers.
Yeah, which that's what I was going to say is, like, it's been 30 years since Ghostbusters 2, so in the canon you could just say they started having kids soon after, so all their kids could be in their 20s. Like, I don't see why, unless it's going to be about their grandkids, which could be very cringy. But I mean, it could end up being really
I'm
good
gonna wait
if they
until-
handle it well.
I'm going to at least wait until I see the trailer before I start casting judgment.
if they use Dan Aykroyd's ideas for Ghostbusters 3,
I mean,
and,
there have been good movies which have had teenagers as the central characters, and they've worked.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I mean,
Hopefully it's good.
it can't be as bad as the 2016 movie.
Yeah,
Knock on wood.
and what's his name? Is it Jason Reitman? Is that his name?
Yes.
He, who's the son of the original director, Ivan Reitman, is directing this one. So that could be good because he's got a pretty decent track record with his own movies.
And he also might have the expectation to not soil his father's legacy.
But then it might be like a Shane Black situation where it's like he's sort of close enough to the property that it might blind him from, because Shane Black was in the original Predator and then wrote and directed The Predator, which was
We don't need to talk about that.
disappointing, to say the least. But anyway, yeah, let's move on because we've got a lot to talk about in our Glass review. So, Glass is the new film from M. Night Shyamalan. It is the sequel to both Unbreakable and Split. And
First of all, should we just start with a little background on just basically Split and Unbreakable for listeners that might not be familiar with those properties?
Spoiler-free kind of...
General...
I mean, it's been 20 years since Unbreakable, so...
You'd be surprised how many people haven't seen it.
Yeah, which is disappointing
That's their
because
fault.
this leads into my point of Unbreakable is my favourite M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I also think it's his best movie. I think it was ahead of its time in the fact that it was a more grounded representation of what superheroes would be like in the real world.
It probably is one of the best superhero movies.
Yeah.
It's very realistic.
But keep in mind, it came out before all the Marvel stuff, before, it even came out before the first X-Men movie, I think.
Wow.
Maybe the second one. Yeah,
but
at
even
that
then,
point,
it's completely different from anything else.
But in you going back watching it now, it's even better
still holds up.
because we know that Marvel, and DC and all these other superhero movies dominate the box office, and it's like it's a movie that's even more relevant. It's like a more sort of pared back version of the superhero tale.
Because all these superhero movies, they get all fantastical, but Unbreakable is so grounded and, to use the word, I would say almost it's practical.
I love how quiet it is. It's just like a really kind of slow burn, just dramatic, just quiet film. I love it so much. And then Split came out, which was more of a thriller, kind of horror.
Also very good.
And we all enjoyed that as well. But the kind of twist at the end of that movie was that it was like a super secret stealth sequel to Unbreakable,
Yeah, so Unbreakable is the origin story of the hero, and Split is the origin story of the villain.
So Unbreakable tells the story of David Dunn, played by Bruce Willis, who is a regular man who survives a devastating train crash in which he's the only survivor.
And he never gets sick.
And not only is he the only survivor, he doesn't get a scratch on him. And Elijah Price, played by Samuel Jackson, he's a man with a disorder where his bones are very, very brittle. And he believes that if he can be so brittle, then there can be someone on the other side of the spectrum who is extremely strong and invulnerable.
But
and
his superpower is his brain.
Yeah, and he believes David is that person. And so the Unbreakable is the kind of more grounded telling of a superhero origin story where David kind of realizes he might not be a normal man, he might be an extraordinary hero. And then 16 years later, Split comes out and is about Kevin Crumb, played by James McAvoy, who has 23 distinct personalities. He has DID.
DID.
Dissociative identity disorder. And they collectively are called the Horde. And they believe that there is a 24th personality that will manifest itself called the Beast, which is this otherworldly strong being. And he sort of kidnaps these 3 young women and is going to sacrifice them to the Beast, and they have to escape. And the sort of twist at the end of that movie was that it takes place in the same world as Unbreakable, and Bruce Willis makes a cameo just before the end credits of Split. And so everyone was sort of now looking forward to Glass, which is the sequel to kind of both those movies. And
it brings it all together.
Yes, where David Dunn is now a hero patrolling the streets, and Kevin Crumb and the Horde are loose on the streets, kidnapping women and killing people, and they have to face off each other. And Elijah Price, who is known as Mr. Glass because of his condition, is sort of trying to pit them together
against each other.
Yeah. We were all, I think we were all looking forward to this movie.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
I think it's interesting because, you know, usually if you get a long gap between the first movie and its sequel, it's they do like a sort of soft reboot, or they do.
This is M. Night.
But yeah, and what I like about M. Night is he's unconventional, and so
that, and he's been financing his own movies lately,
yes.
which he self-financed this. So this was his vision. This is not a studio reboot.
Glass cost $20 million, which he funded entirely himself, so that he could have full creative control. Because one of the problems in the middle of his career, when his films were frankly terrible, was that the studios were just ripping his visions to shreds.
Which follows?
Yeah, nothing to do with Mark Wahlberg being a bad actor.
Oh, no, he's terrible, yeah.
Take that back.
What?
Wait, what?
What? No.
What was Mark Wahlberg in?
The Happening.
The Happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that movie. I forgot about that movie.
As we all should.
No, but generally, I think M. Night's doing quite well now that he's financing his own movies.
Exactly,
again.
and he has creative control and he can sort of do what he wants. I think some of the criticisms of Glass is that it looks cheap.
No,
I don't.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
Probably the large chunk of the budget went to Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson's salary, and probably James McAvoy's as well.
I think it's cheap at all.
I think the production design and the costumes and that are all pretty good. The use of color is great.
Yeah, beautiful.
The music is pretty good.
Can you add as like some people just wanting more of a almost CG fist fight action thing going down? That's what people are
We'll talk about this a bit later, but I think people want a more conventional superhero movie from a, let's call it not a franchise, a trilogy. Yeah, a trilogy of movies that are trying to not be conventional at all.
You know, before the show, I went on the internet very quickly and I had a look at Rotten Tomatoes, and I saw how those people were viewing it and a couple other websites. And as of right now, as of the taping of the show, it's getting 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. People don't like it. Other websites don't like it. And the main reason seems to all be people didn't appreciate either, as you said, the production itself, or they didn't appreciate the twist at the end. Now, I feel like if you're going to hate on an M. Night movie because you don't like the twist at the end, that's like maybe you just don't like M. Night movies generally. I don't always appreciate the twists, but you kind of know that going in.
Look, I have problems with the twist, which we'll talk about later in the spoiler section. But for me, it didn't ruin the rest of the movie leading up to it.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what one of the reviewers I saw said, that most of the movie was fine, but then the whole of the movie was ruined by the end. Yeah. And I take exception to that.
Yeah, I think it doesn't undo all the good before that it came.
I like how 83% of Google users like this film, though. So when you get like
critics don't like it, but the audience does.
I think
it's the opposite of Star Wars.
Every time a M. Night Shyamalan movie comes out, it gets mixed reviews. I think even Split had this same problem, you know. So
I don't think Split got 36% on Rotten Tomatoes.
No, it wasn't that bad, but you know, like there's always some polarization over his films.
But this also could go into the larger conversation of like, people expect a movie to cost $200 million.
That's the thing. I feel like a lot of people have gotten used to the CGI and have gotten used to the big, loud, kind of explosion-filled, dumb movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not, honestly, I can't remember there being a lot, if any, CGI, that much CGI in Glass.
No, not really.
So it'll probably all be practical CGI that we saw.
It's all like CGI used to augment, like to
enhance the scene.
To enhance something or to erase something. There wasn't any
not
really
like
big
powers or anything.
Yeah.
Like this type of movie, it only costs $20 million. People maybe they're like, but I came for a superhero movie.
Some people are complaining about that, but to me it stays in line with the kind of tone of the first two films.
That's exactly what we were saying after we saw it. We were talking about the reception, and we're like, well, if you liked Unbreakable and you liked Split, chances are you're going to like this one because it feels the same and it's in the same world.
The final fight in Glass might be a little unsatisfying, but yeah, it stays in line with.
But that's sort of how things go in the other movies,
and also because the budget was necessary, one, for M. Night to have creative control, but also to sort of to keep that grounded feeling. So you kind of have to forgive it in a lot of ways.
It's not because it's not a conventional superhero movie.
Yeah.
It's like they may or may not have superpowers, and that's kind of some of the mystery of the movie. It's like, are they or are they not superpowered individuals? Like, they can't exactly have if the movie is questioning people's abilities. Abilities set up in Unbreakable and Split, you can't exactly have these characters running around like throwing fireballs,
shoot lasers from their eyes, and stuff, because
that's not the type of movie that it wants to be.
I mean, I will say some of the action scenes are shot kind of they're a bit clunky. Like there are these weird close-ups of just Bruce Willis grimacing while he's fighting, the bad guy, and
that's pretty comic book though.
Yeah, and that's probably why they did it. But yeah, like definitely some of the choreography is amazing, and some of it definitely could have been better. But none of it's really bad, and at no point was I like, oh, this should be bigger, this should have more CGI or explosions. I think that's the worst.
No, because the point of the movie is that it's a more personal experience.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as the CG goes, I suppose the most obvious lack of CG is the fight scenes. They're all very practical fight scenes. And I think, as we were saying, a lot of people probably wanted a more kind of high voltage fight scene. They wanted more going on, they wanted more explosions, blah, blah, blah. But I thought that the I guess you could call them slow, the slow practical fight scenes suited the movie.
Yeah, it fits in with the grounded sort of reality of the movies.
And as you said, I think most of the budget probably went to fees. And like some of the fighting effects I thought were quite good.
Yeah,
like there's a few scenes where Bruce Willis is punching things. Yeah, and I thought I was pretty impressed with this.
The scene where the beast is like galloping, if you can call it that, across the grass is really well done. One thing I like about the movie is all the characters have something to do. Like I thought Casey from Split was gonna have a cameo, and then they were gonna focus on the other characters. But she has a lot to do. David's son has a lot to do. Even Elijah's mother has stuff to do. Like I like how everyone was involved.
We'll talk more about this in the spoiler section, but I thought it might have been slightly inappropriate how they tried to force a relationship between two of the characters. Like, I don't sort of get it.
I somewhat get it.
I don't know what characters you're talking about.
We'll get into it.
I feel like
I'm not going to touch that.
If they're the two characters I think of, that I might disagree.
Yeah. It's one of those things though where you go to see a film, and it's not what you expected, therefore you didn't like it. Like, no one sits down in a movie and they'll see a movie, or they'll watch a movie they want to see and find it's not what they expected. And, like, usually if I went to see a movie and it was good but it wasn't what I expected, I'd be like, well, that was different, but I still liked it.
That's what I say. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie even if your expectations
weren't met. A lot of the reviews seem to be like, that wasn't what I expected, I want my money back.
Yeah, because something like that movie with... damn it. I don't even know their names anymore. The one where they're traveling across space and he wakes up in his little... Passengers.
Yeah.
Like, that was something... The movie went somewhere we didn't expect it, and it was also bad. That's where you can be like, that was just crap.
Yeah.
We don't like this.
A quick personal anecdote. When we went to see the Fish Monster movie, Shape of Water, there was another couple in the cinema with us.
Yeah.
Who went to see a completely different movie, and they turned around to us at the end, and it's like... They said to us, like, that wasn't the movie we came to see, but we really enjoyed it.
No, they literally were in the wrong theatre. They came to see it.
And
they really liked it.
To put it into context, they were literally in our seats.
Yeah.
So that's why we know they're in the wrong film.
But we were like, excuse me, you're in a seat. And they showed us the tickets and they had the same numbers. And we were like, that's weird. That's double booked or something. And then later they're like, we're in the wrong theatre. Like, we're in the wrong theatre.
But they really enjoyed the movie.
That's like, I think people going to see Glass are going to see Glass, but I think it's a problem where they might not be familiar with how M. Night operates. No, because if you've only watched Split, if you've only watched his more recent movies, you might have a certain idea.
Also, like, if you haven't seen Unbreakable and Split, Glass makes no sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Do not see it unless you've seen those films.
But if the only movies you've seen are Split and The Visit, you might have an idea about what he's going to bring to the table. And but I think that might not necessarily... Because if you see all of his movies, you kind of have an idea what you're in for.
That's true.
Because Split, while both Split and... I enjoyed both Split and The Visit, they're not indicative of all of his movies as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think that people need to be aware of the kind of movie he does, the type of story he tells, before they make a judgment on Glass. Because as far as Glass, if you compare it to the rest of his movies, it's a pretty good film.
I think with M. Night Shyamalan, it's like you either buy into his premise or you don't. Like, his movies can tread the line between being really silly and, like, really serious. And his movies like Sixth Sense and Unbreakable are the perfect balance of making you believe that this kind of silly premise is real and is grounded. And then some of his not-so-good movies...
Like The Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. They fail at that because you're just like, well, this is dumb. I think Glass, I can understand some people maybe not buying into it, but if you do buy into it like we did, it's enjoyable. I think...
It's also a very traditional comic book kind of tale, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, the twist is very comic book at the end.
It deliberately uses a lot of tropes.
Yeah,
and
so
they call out those tropes.
Like,
in the
all
movie.
of the twists in the movie, they're very comic book in style.
Yeah.
So if you like, I think this is a movie that if someone likes comic books, especially the older, more traditional comic books, they'll really like it. Some of the new comic books take a lot of flair, if you want to call it that, from the more modern cinema comic book stories.
Yeah.
So that's not what this is. This is a traditional comic book story. Because like if you look at the new comic books now, it's all kind of space opera stuff. This is not a space opera story.
Yeah, it's taking the original comic book tropes from the golden age and putting them in the quote unquote real world, and then having characters who have read comic books realize what's happening. And a lot of people probably just think that's dumb, but that's kind of the fun of M. Night movies, is like him kind of trying to explain things. And sometimes that can be annoying, like there's the doctor, the therapist kind of character who just kind of explains a lot of things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But overall, if you buy into that premise, it's fun to sort of... It's fun to be engrossed in the lore of a real world where comic book heroes exist. So we'll start going to spoilers soon. I just want to make a few more points. I think one problem is that even though, like I said, most of the characters get something to do, I think, unfortunately, David Dunn, he doesn't really affect a lot. He's just in between a lot of the other characters. We won't give too much away. I think... Like, the movie's called Glass. At the end of the day, if Unbreakable was about David Dunn, if Split was about Kevin, and Glass is about Glass. I know that's a cheat kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Like, especially at the end of the movie, like, it's his movie.
Talking about Dunn, I think it's safe to say that Bruce Willis did care in this film.
Yeah, I think he gave like a good 80%.
Because if you watch Bruce Willis,
he's notorious for not giving a crap.
We should establish that after the thinning hair period of his career, he stopped caring so much.
Yeah, like he's even gone on record as saying like he hates doing movies. He only does those crappy action movies to get paid millions of dollars. He's like completely disinterested now. He just phones in all his performances, but he has had a few performances in the last few years, like in Looper, and in Moonrise Kingdom, and in this movie, where he actually kind of cares about what he's doing.
Feels more energized.
Yeah, and I think he likes working with M. Night Shyamalan, so that's probably why he agreed to do this.
I was also very happy with Samuel L. Jackson's performance.
Yeah, he's great.
He did a good job as Mr. Glass, as he calls himself. That's his villain name, if you want to call him that.
Yeah.
Because as you know, if you've seen Unbreakable, he wants to be a villain.
Yeah.
It's more complicated than that, obviously, but he calls himself Mr. Glass because the brittle bone thing.
And the actor that plays Dunn's son is the same actor as
from Unbreakable.
Yeah, that was
I like that.
Nice when you can keep the actor.
I like how a lot of actors from Unbreakable return.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Robin Wright didn't return, so that was kind of awkward thing there. But I think final thoughts in terms of non-spoilers. I think definitely it's a trilogy it doesn't get better as it goes along. Unbreakable's still the best, Split is the second best, and then Glass is the last. I definitely
agree
know
with
what I mean.
that.
It doesn't get better, but that's not to say it gets bad.
That's a good hierarchy.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed he didn't make it into a short miniseries or something. Like, I think that there's so much flesh on those bones that I would have liked to see it in a more of like a 10 episode miniseries or something.
I heard a rumor that Split and Glass were originally supposed to be one movie where they introduced Kevin and his identity disorders and the Horde and the Beast, and then Dunn comes in to fight him. And M. Night was like, whoa, that's way too much stuff going on. So he's like, well, let's make a whole movie about Kevin and the Horde. And that's why he made Split. And that's why he asked Bruce Willis to do the cameo so then he could make Glass. So, I think it would probably work better as a sort of long...
I think that that's also a part of the reason why people don't like it so much.
Yeah.
Is because a lot of world building happens in the last 20 minutes.
They definitely could have slowed it down a bit.
He definitely packed in way too much world building in way too short of a time.
Yeah.
So you didn't get a sense of the growth. It was just kind of, oh, by the way, here's all this.
Yeah.
Off to the side.
Yeah.
So I think that might be why people hate it so much.
Yeah.
I was kind of okay with it.
I understand the criticisms. I have problems with it too, which we'll talk about in spoilers. But yeah, like, it didn't ruin the rest of the movie. I think, like, the individual scenes and the performances, I think, were really great. Even though maybe the whole didn't really come together in the way people wanted, I think in, like, watching the film, we were enjoying it. We were enjoying watching it, watching how it played out. I just hope that, even though I like this universe and this grounded take on superheroes, I just hope that M. Night, like, he has said this is the final in the trilogy and that he's moving on. But yeah, I hope that he does move on and that his next film is an original one.
Look, I'm a glass half full kind of guy.
Oh, God.
This didn't shatter my expectations.
Far out.
But I think that Glass... No. I think that Glass was a
I got
sharp...
my finger on your mic button.
Look,
I'm going to turn it off.
Look, Glass was a sharp movie. So I think
you know what? It's off.
I mean,
You're
look,
off.
audiences are split, but I think this movie is unbreakable.
Oh, you're off too. It's only me and Callum now.
I'm the worst guy to have.
Oh, God.
Because you're
off too. I know, that's me. Everyone's off. I'm the only one on now. All right, we're going to go to a break, and then when we come back, we're going to do full spoilers. So, I think we all enjoyed Glass a lot. It does have a lot of problems, but overall, it was an enjoyable ride. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're back on the Tuesday review. I'm going to announce spoilers now. We're going to do full spoilers for Glass, but also probably Unbreakable and Split. So if you haven't seen those movies, we're going to be talking full spoilers for those, but especially for Glass. So if you haven't seen Glass, this is a major spoiler warning. We're joined in the studio now by Rafael. How you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Not bad. We've all just been talking about how we really enjoyed Glass.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it with us, and you were not having it. You did not enjoy it that much.
I did not, no. I think the tone of the whole movie was completely separate to what Unbreakable and Split actually was.
Okay.
I just thought it was a completely of a mess of a movie, to tell the honest truth. The pacing as well.
Yeah. I think the start was clunky, but I think then it starts to get going. But then I think the end does let it down a bit.
It does, yeah, I guess so in a way, but I don't know, it just felt different to me. It felt like everything was like well placed with the characters. Everything was rushed. Like they introduced Samuel Jackson's character quickly, like James McAvoy's character as well. Like it was just all too convenient, I think, to put them all in one place together just to tell that story.
I think this is definitely a movie I would like to see a director's cut of.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, see what they left out.
Yeah, like I'd like to see a bit slow, especially the start, like where.
I want to see Bruce Willis knock a few other bad guys out first.
where David's looking for the Horde, and it's like 5 minutes later he finds him, and then they're arrested and put in the thing.
Because like Bruce Willis's ability, especially to the most, that intrigued me. Like out of all this movie, like the fact that he can touch someone and so get a vision, or like I wanted it to play with that a little bit more.
Yeah,
like he in the asylum, I would say that they're in, or the institution.
Yeah,
like he could have touched a guard's hand, and he could have been like, "You're doing a bad thing with this X, Y, Z," and creep people out.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
They could have played with his abilities more, but they didn't.
Yeah, look, if in a perfect world, this movie probably just should have been David Dunn on the streets looking for
trouble,
the Horde. Trying to track him down,
like a chase thriller kind of.
Yeah, and the whole movie is about him. Like the Horde keeps kidnapping young women and killing people, and the Beast keeps emerging, and it's up to David to sort of him and his son to sort of track him
Because
down.
it almost could have been it's like a detective movie.
Yeah. So, in a perfect world, that's probably what I would have preferred. But the movie we get, I enjoyed it.
It wasn't cutting edge,
Yeah.
but look. I understand why people didn't like it, but I did. I feel like I enjoyed the cinematography, the performances. I feel like the twist with Glass at the end, where it turns out it was all a big diversion.
Yeah.
Like what you thought was actually happening was just a diversion. I thought that was brilliant.
That was kind of my point about how it's Glass's movie. At the end of the movie, whether you like it or not, it's revealed that even though he's technically the villain, it's revealed that his plan was to reveal to the world that heroes exist, and that if you believe in heroes exist, you can become a hero. Which again, I'm not sure if I'm not trying to say he was right, because he killed a lot of people. But I guess that's kind of like why I like the movie. It's weird, it's unconventional, and M. Night Shyamalan was just trying to put a final statement on the trilogy.
I like the one thing I did like was in the institution, the cells are kept secure by different devices depending on the needs of the inmate.
Yeah.
I liked Dunn's one. It's like
The
sprinklers
lights.
all around the room.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
I thought that Kevin's one, the Horde's one, was a little tacky.
It's like a lot of people complaining, the movie doesn't make sense. There are too many logical inconsistencies.
To be fair, Kevin could have just closed his eyes and just punched one of the lights.
I would agree. This movie could have been better in a lot of little sort of details. But I think overall, the broad strokes, the performances and the scenes themselves, when you've got Samuel L. Jackson talking to Patricia, it's really, it's movie magic. So I can understand people's gripes with it, but yeah, I think it's still enjoyable. It has a lot of problems and things that don't make sense.
It's an enjoyable movie, but I don't know. I feel like they shouldn't have made this one for some reason. I wish they left it at Split.
But then, personally, I probably would have preferred Split if the end reveal of David wasn't there, because then it's a self-contained movie.
Yeah.
But what that reveal does for me is it recontextualizes all of Split as a superhero or a supervillain movie.
Or would it have been better, instead of David Dunn at the end, it could have been Kevin Crumb being sort of rescued by Mr. Glass.
Or just Mr. Glass watching the news about it.
Yeah, correct. That would have been good, I reckon.
Don't have Bruce Willis in it at all until later on.
We were talking before you arrived here, Raphael, about one of the main problems people seem to have with this film is the world building was done in a very uneven way. So most of the world building is done towards the very end of the film, where they pack a lot in very quickly. Is that what does it for you, do you think? The fact that most of the big reveals have a lot to do with the overall story, and they kind of just jam it in there in 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. It's too rushed, I think. The introduction of characters is way too quick, I think. They want to pack everything in one go by the looks of it. I think what Callum and Nathan was saying, it's better to leave maybe Samuel Jackson's character at the end for a reveal or something. Maybe a little brief cameo here.
In Split.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah.
But in terms of Glass, how they kind of reveal the secret society at the end and all of...
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't know why they did that for.
Yeah, I have a problem with it. I don't really like it, but it also doesn't ruin the rest of the movie for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I mean, I like to think that the only reason that Bruce signed off on this movie is he's pulling Harrison Ford. He's
he wants to get
I'll do it
off.
if I die on film.
One thing Raph hated was David Dunn's death.
Yeah, that whole puddle scene was just tragic.
I definitely agree with that.
It was drowning a puppy or something.
Yeah.
Just so weird.
It was really anticlimactic and unsatisfying.
He's a really strong dude.
Well, I mean, water's his weakness, so that it kind of makes sense. But also the fact that he gets killed by a literal faceless goon, out of nowhere, and then they do all this quick montage of revealing the secret Clover Society or whatever. I've been calling him Shamrock because I think it sounds cooler. But I don't know what they
sounds like a Marvel group.
Yeah, I thought they were the Irish mob, but...
Oh, yeah. So, Alan's on top of it. It's going to tie in with the Punisher. He's going to come.
No, look, I
kill
feel
the
like this.
Irishman.
I feel like this type of world building is more suited to a long form miniseries.
Yeah.
Or something. That's what we were saying before you got here, Rafal, is that I feel like the story would lend itself better to a miniseries
Yeah.
than it does to a movie because they want to talk about so much stuff, but you only have just over 2 hours.
Yeah. That's why I would like to see a director's cut. Yeah, like
We want the 5-hour Netflix edition. That's what we want.
like yeah, I definitely agree. A lot of things were mishandled or unsatisfying, but I still enjoyed the overall ride.
I can kind of understand, like, going back to what I said before in the non-spoiler section, I didn't get the sort of relationship they wanted to push between the Horde or Kevin and
Casey. Oh, okay, Casey.
and
Yeah.
Casey. Like, I can sort
To
of...
me-
it's very simple in my mind. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
more complicated. But I would imagine that she would want nothing to do with him.
Well, to me, she being abused herself is sympathetic with Kevin, who was abused by
And
Yeah,
his mother.
She also knows that the Horde won't harm her at all.
Exactly, and she also knows that Kevin, the original person before his identities took over, is a completely innocent man.
But at the same time, like, the switch is flipped, and she's seen him eat people.
Yeah, but in her,
Like, I'm sorry, but if, like, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, sure, they have, like, abuse or, like,
Yeah.
childhood trauma in common, but a
In
normal
her-
person would nothing to do
yeah,
with
but
the Horde.
in her mind, she can save Kevin, the man, and somehow get rid of all the Horde and sort of get rid of all the personalities, and she kind of succeeds in that just before he dies at the end, where Kevin takes the light.
I feel that would have worked better if her and Kevin had spent more time
Yeah.
in Split.
Yeah,
Because she only gets, what is it,
Yeah.
a few seconds with Kevin?
yeah,
when he
because
says
split,
when he
Split's-
says kill me,
yeah, exactly.
get the gun and kill me. Whereas if they'd spent a little bit more time,
yeah,
like 95% of Split is her running and he's trying to kill her.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if she spent more time with Kevin, had more of an interaction,
Yeah.
like the relationship they have now in
Yeah.
Glass would have been, I think,
See,
more acceptable to
yeah.
me.
I do agree there.
This movie probably would have been better, like we're saying, as a series or something, where it's like she keeps coming to the hospital and developing a relationship with the Horde or something, and David's son Joseph has more.
Because I think that's my problem with it.
Yeah,
That relationship is developed far too quickly.
yeah. I guess because it's a sequel to both movies, it has to do
Twice as
much work. Yeah. I think, like, one of the problems with the kind of shamrock twist at the end was that it did feel like it came out of nowhere. And one of the things with M. Night Shyamalan's twists is that if you watch, like, Unbreakable or Sixth Sense, the twist is earned. It's laid, it's kind of hinted at throughout the movie, and it kind of it manifests itself at the end. Whereas in something like The Village, the twist doesn't feel earned. It's just kind of appears, and then someone just explains the twist to you on the screen. And I think Glass has that same problem.
Yeah.
Like, I think this movie you can compare to Village, where The Village is actually an interesting film and is enjoyable to a certain point, but the twist is kind of unearned. But the rest of the movie is still quite well done and interesting.
Definitely.
And I think Glass has that similar problem, where it's like the movie's still really interesting, but then the twist is like, you didn't really earn that. You just chucked that in at the end. So yeah, I can definitely see where people are coming from there.
Can I just add, in terms of, I guess, positive scenes,
Yeah.
towards the start of the film, when Dunn goes home from his business, the security business,
Yeah.
he walks home, he opens the door, the entire scene is kind of shot from behind him,
Yeah.
and he kind of takes his time,
It's a long take.
goes through
Yeah,
the
I like
house, and
that.
that was like a lovely scene. And
Yeah.
then it ends with, I guess, revealing his memory of his wife, who's
Yeah.
now revealed to be passed away.
Yeah.
It was kind of, or at that point, you don't know she's passed away, but at the very least, you know she's not there
Yeah.
with them.
And that's why Robin Wright's not being in the movie, I think, was a bit. It did a disservice to the film, because even if she was in the film and they still killed off her character, like, just having the actress, like, with the back of her head was kind of awkward. But yeah, like, I can forgive these things, especially because, like budget is just.
Yeah, the budget was only 20 mil.
Yeah,
And
like-
with three
it
quite
was
big
all-
actors.
Yeah, and it was all M. Night's own money, so it's kind of like, it's pretty amazing. Also, like, I read that Universal owns the characters from Split, but I think a branch of Disney owns the characters from Unbreakable. So Disney and Universal like came together to make Glass.
That's a miracle.
Which is like unheard of.
That's
like,
a miracle.
That kind of cooperation between rival studios. So I think this movie, it might be a little bit disappointing, but it's a kind of once in a lifetime opportunity. And I think M. Night was really lucky to have gotten it made.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it goes back to what we were saying before, is that a $20 million movie these days, unfortunately, they seem to be disappointing a lot of people. People expect a bigger budget.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie made quite a damn well good use of $20 million.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't realize it was a quote-unquote cheap movie.
It did promise some things that it couldn't deliver on, like the Osaka Tower fight. Now, I know the fight which ends up taking place in front of the institution, it does the same thing and is more emotionally.
You know, I kind of disagree with you there,
Yeah.
James, because keep in mind that Glass we're in a realistic world.
No, yeah, exactly.
So that's why, like,
Which is
the
why-
Osaka Tower fight, that big tower fight, that's
Yeah.
a comic book trope.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen in real life. It doesn't happen in Glass.
Which is why I can forgive it, not only because of the budget, but because of what the movie's trying to be, more grounded. But yeah, there was a couple of things where, I felt like they were leading up to something, and then I was getting a bit of blue balls. So I can understand why people were getting angry. But for me, I wasn't, like, I still enjoyed what was happening, and I still think what it ended up doing, was still good. One thing I think was more disappointing to me than not having the Osaka Tower fight was that when the beast manifests himself, he's some sort of fanatical guy where he's like, he believes that the world is going to be taken over by the broken people, people who have suffered,
and he's like an Avenger kind of character.
Yeah, and he's going to kill all the innocent people who have never suffered and sort of lead an army of the broken to take over the world. And there's a bit where he finds some homeless people and he says something like, "I am one of you," or "I am you," or something, and then he transforms into the beast. And I thought, like, a better version of this movie, like I said, is done tracking down the Horde and the beast, but also like the beast, like, leading an army of the broken, like, you know, like homeless people and people who have been abused, and that again would probably take a series to develop. So again, like, it's kind of a weird movie where it's like, it's a two-headed thing where it's like, I really enjoyed it, and I think the scenes and the performances and the look of the film are really good, and the unconventional nature was really interesting. But again, it did promise things, and it is a sequel to two better movies, and it kind of didn't always make sense in a lot of areas.
On that beast thing, like, can he just transform into the beast now willingly? Because in Split, like, it took him such a long time to come up with it.
So basically, the Horde is now, they were in Split. It was sort of like there were a couple of sort of the personalities that were fighting for control to give the beast the light.
Yeah.
And like, I guess at the end of Split, the beast won out, and a lot of the Horde, or most of the personalities now, are on the beast's side. Yeah. So the light is controlled by, we'll call them characters inside Kevin that support the beast.
Yeah.
So the light's a lot easier for the beast to get.
Yeah.
But when he was trapped in that room with those lights and he's locked up, he could have transformed into the beast, couldn't he? And then climb up on the walls or something?
Because every time he gets near, it triggers another personality.
But I never saw him transform the beast. There's always different characters within there, but that was the one thing.
When the lights flash, it just randomizes what.
But that's when he gets close to it. It doesn't, like. Is that right? Like, when he used to get close to it,
you're saying
it's triggered by, what'd she say? I was triggered by
aggressive personalities.
Yeah.
So the beast is an aggressive personality. So
yeah,
how does it sense that?
Doesn't go into it in terms of
I can't remember. She said something about cameras and proximity
sensors. So I thought when it gets close to the door that happens.
Yeah, like, they definitely could have just put bars in front of it, and none of this would have, like, we wouldn't even be talking about this, because it's like, oh, well, he just can't get to it in time. You know, like, there are things in the movie where it's like you can pick apart, but I don't think they ruin the whole movie.
Or they could have put, like, some type of shock collar on him.
Probably.
Problem solved.
That would have been better. Yeah.
And the same thing with they're talking about Bruce Willis. Is like, how do you know you're not a normal man, Brucey? Or David Dunn. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, David Dunn could have just been like, well, why don't I rip these chains out of the floor and we'll find out.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, that's actually one thing I mentioned in the film. I'm like, Wouldn't the easiest way to prove that he's a Superman is just to like rip the chains out of the ground?
exactly. And also because like you were saying like oh, you know, they're trying to convince him he's not a superhero. But then we liked at the end how it's just like, no, they're superheroes. Like,
yeah, that's legit.
And that's kind of M. Night's thing is like he's like...
He stops the problem of Christopher Nolan's Inception. You know how like years later everyone's still arguing about whether it was a dream or not?
Yeah.
M. Night's like, no, they're superheroes.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that could be also seen, and I can understand why some people are mad about it, is like, that's kind of what Unbreakable was about, where David was slowly coming to realize he is actually a superhero.
He's not a normal boy.
Yeah, and I guess I can understand people's frustrations of why Glass kind of does that again.
Yeah, I think that whole scene, like, I think in Glass, it's like basically only 15 minutes where they, what's it called, sort of touch on, like, they're not superheroes or something.
Yeah.
Like that whole three-way conversation with them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In the pink room.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't really feel like that was necessary in that movie to go into that.
Yeah, true.
Like, it's just kind of unnecessary. It's like trying to draw you away from the story, then it comes back to it and says, oh no, they actually are superheroes.
Exactly, yeah.
It's just like, it's going back and forth.
Yeah.
There's no proper direction.
I think if you go into this movie with your glass half full, I think you'll enjoy
You already
it.
made that joke.
I know, but I have to repeat it.
I'll turn your mic off again.
It's a salient point. If you go into this movie with no like we often say when we're talking about a movie,
Yeah.
if you go with an optimistic attitude and you like Split and Unbreakable, you will at least get a kick out of the film.
Yeah.
I loved Unbreakable. I think that was a great movie. Split was amazing as well. The ending for that movie was amazing.
But this movie is not necessarily going to deliver what you want it to.
Yeah.
So you need to go in there with that foreknowledge that it's not going to work out the way you want it to personally.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes a movie will do that. Sometimes we'll go and we'll be like, that's perfect. This is not that film.
Yeah, but like we said, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie regardless of what your expectations were. And in this case, some of the expectations are not met, and it doesn't matter. And in other ways, the expectations aren't met, and I think that does a disservice to the film.
But like you were saying, the fact that this movie got made, considering there are various legal things that's been... Like, I think that we should be happy that he could do it, and happy that the story is now told. Whether we like it or not, it's a complete product.
Yeah.
As in the trilogy.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm hoping, like, even though I'm interested in this sort of universe, I hope M. Night doesn't revisit it. I hope this is the trilogy, that's it.
I kind of hope he does. I understand why we want to leave it where it is, but I kind of want to see a movie about the organization.
Well, that's again another kind of problem with the movie is that twist. It's like
there wasn't enough,
It's like Callum said, they did so much world building in the last 10-20 minutes when they had to end the movie, and you're like, wait, now we have to learn about the organization. So
and talking about the blue balls before me, I was sitting next to Callum, and when his son's looking at the gym equipment, I was like, does he have his dad's sort of powers?
Yeah.
Is he going to rock up there after work one day and just be like lifting 400, 500 kilos?
One honourable mention to a scene after the Father Dunn passes away, and the son is like kneeling over the corpse, and it's shot in this very comic book way.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the twist is going to be the son has powers, and it's like a Batman situation where he now has to, you know, he's going to prowl the night because his dad was murdered.
That's kind of one of the things I liked about the ending.
That wasn't the split. The twist, rather.
That's kind of what I like about the ending is that, and why I said it's Mr. Glass's movie, and why he kind of wins, is because his sort of goal was to show people that heroes exist and that they can be heroes, and that's kind of what they do at the end of the movie. So yeah, I kind of, I don't mind that ending where it's like they open up a larger world for heroes and villains, but at the same time they end it. So yeah, I hope M. Night's next movie is better, and I hope it's an original movie. But I like this trilogy, it's fine. Unbreakable is still the best and still amazing, and I think the best part is you can still watch Unbreakable on its own.
Yeah.
So, and you can still probably watch Split on its own.
Yeah.
So even if you don't like Glass,
doesn't ruin the movies preceding it, like the new Predator did.
I think it sort of ruins Split a little for me.
Yeah.
It takes away the split for me a little bit.
Yeah, because it splits a lot. Obviously, it's a lot more recent, but it's a lot more connected to Glass in a sort of way than
like maybe another problem is because there was 16 years between Unbreakable and Glass.
It feels a little bit more
Split.
disconnected.
he had time to write it, and he had time to fail and work himself back up, M. Night. And then there was only a few years between Split and Glass, and so he was directly writing it as a sequel to Split and also trying to make a sequel to Unbreakable. So, you know, he's trying to do a lot in just a short amount of time, a couple of years. So, yeah, maybe that's the problem. Maybe he should have waited a bit longer. But, yeah, like we said, for all these things to align and for it to happen was
pretty
it was a
special.
miracle, yeah. So we're out of time. Thank you, Rafael, for coming
No
in.
problem. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you, Callum, who's in the back there. Like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, we made it to episode 3. So
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
it's Tuesday, and
Don't-
you've been reviewed.
I'm just going to keep pressing your off button until you're dead. Like Miss Dr. Evil. And drop you through the floor. You can follow us on Twitter at Tuesday Review AU. The podcast is on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever it's called, and on Shout Engine and on your regular podcasting app, so you'll be able to find it. Thanks everyone again. See you next Tuesday. Maybe. We don't have a official sign off yet, but see ya.